Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. My name is Andrea Lissoni. I'm Artistic Director of Hauter Kunst. And I will now introduce and thank mostly what is happening this afternoon. And thanking is the most important. So the special thanks are for the Freistaat Bayern, Bayerische Stadtministerium für Wissenschaft und Kunst, die Alexander Tutzek Stiftung, die Uli und Uwe Kai Stiftung, die Hackenberg Stiftung, die Gesellschaft der Freunde der Stiftung Haus der Kunst und die Kulturstiftung des Bundes in particular for supporting the exhibition of Rebecca Hahn and this symposium as well. Continuing to thank, and I should remind the language, official language is English. I would like to thank the Muntower Foundation and its board, namely Nick Serota, Peter Raue, and Hans Duttmann. Some are with us today, as well as the Studio Horn, and namely Karin and Peter Weirich were fundamental in making this exhibition happening since we started already 4 years ago. The participants of the symposium, Andre Lepecki, Amanda Kakia, Sarah Sigmund, Marte Zionaska, Lanka Tatterstal, Charlotte Matte, Goya Montero, Doris von Draten, Hendrik Volkers, Jack Albestam, Jessica Comane, and Sandra Beata Reimann. And Jana Baumann, who is responsible for the symposium and the curator of the exhibition, with Radia Sukni, deserves a special thanks for many reasons. One of them being extraordinary in delivering a fantastic show that, as you all know, is open till tomorrow, conceiving and realizing a wonderful book that is appreciated by our audiences as never, and pulling together this symposium. Not last, also, this is an internal but very important communication. We made some changes in the program as we thought it a couple of years ago, and we asked Jana to whether she would be open to change completely the moment when the show was scheduled to open, which was now. And with enthusiasm and braveness, Jana took this enterprise and made it happen. So I want to mention this mostly because this, in the end, enabled Rebecca Hahn to visit her own exhibition, which is fantastic and will stay with us forever. So I also would like to thank Marlene Mutzel for her incredible support for realizing the symposium, and Sylvia Klasen. Also the staff involved, but Andrea Saul in particular, and Marlene Hackle, Anja Fetzer, Veronika Lutz, Peggy Rudolph, and Markus Brandenburg. My dear colleagues Shui Tan and Bianca Knall from the Geschäftsführung, as well as Saskia Müller-Bastian, Dirk Frey, and his team from Pechschweichfeld that are here with us today, making all this possible online and offline, and magic, last but not least. And our dear public, you, thank you for making it today, and also our public online. Thank you for following this, I hope, and we hope you're sure, important moment. I would like also to welcome everyone who joined us after the event, watching the online documentation of the symposium, which reunites so many outstanding and expert voices on one of the most important artists of our time. I would like to add just one point. I think it's been a privilege for us to present the work of Rebecca Hahn, her retrospective in particular. Her spirit will continuously resonate in this building and into the walls. And I clearly remember when we visited with Jana, I think really 4 years ago, Rebecca for the first time, and he offered her the show. She was extremely moved, touched, and accepted with enthusiasm for many reasons, not only because it was a long time she didn't have a major show in Germany in general, but also because this was a special place, is a special space for her and for her history. So I think that the Tower of the Nameless that plays daily and will be playing until tomorrow evening, it's perhaps one of the most striking example of how artists can deal with dark moment of history and making them extraordinarily relevant with a counter discourse. We are really honored, as I say, that she could visit the exhibition on the day of the opening and greeting her friends and experiencing the work in such an ambitious display and for the final time. So as we say, Rebecca Horn work will be influencing, for sure, filmmakers, artists, choreographers, dancers, musicians, writers, computer programmers, everyone of all ages and backgrounds who will encounter them. So we are proud to have contributed to transmit her legacy. And now, without further hesitation, I will hand over to Jana Baumann, the curator of the show and the symposium. Thank you so much.
I would also like to thank you. My name is Jana Baumann. I'm delighted to accompany you through the day and would like to thank Andrea Lissoni for his warm welcome and for this great continued support of this project. I'd also like to thank all participants and guests who have accepted our invitation to join us both in person and digitally. We are, of course, deeply saddened by the loss of Rebecca Horn. Her passing has made the last few weeks very special because this exhibition, which contains so much energy, has since been perceived differently, perhaps even more spiritually. The symposium was organized on the basis of the exhibition in order to discuss and deepen its themes and thesis with regard to the significance of Rebecca Horn's artistic practice for the present and the future. It was touching to see how many people, especially younger generation of artists, were moved and inspired by Rebecca Horn's work in the exhibition at Haus der Kunst. So what makes Rebecca Horn's work so relevant and topical today? The exhibition is an attempt to present the artist's career spanning 6 decades through a selection of key works and also less known works. The heart of the exhibition is the main room with newly digitized films of early performances with body extensions. From here, visitors can visit all the adjoining rooms to encounter the work thematically or chronologically. The aim of the exhibition is to trace the performative qualities in Rebecca Horn's work. The driving force was to understand where movement, as well as standstill, and themes of isolation, restriction, and illness in Rebecca Horn's work come from. What are the triggers and beginnings? So how these impulses of the early works relate to the main and the late work? In what direction did the work develop? In the exhibition, it is possible to experience both physically and intuitively how themes, practices, and motives continually permeate each other throughout her entire oeuvre. Rebecca Horn's work is characterized by a multi-perspective and eclectic thinking, which enabled her to break new ground with her visionary transdisciplinary work, be it poetry, drawing, performance, sculpture, installations, or films. Throughout her oeuvre, she explored the blurring of boundaries between nature and culture, technology and human life, as well as between the human and the non-human. She herself said that she saw herself as an inventor, director, writer, composer, or poet, but first and foremost as a choreographer. She names as her media space, light, corporeality, sound, and rhythm, which she orchestrates. We want to learn and to grasp Rebecca Horn's incarnated understanding. Visible, audible, and tangible existence opens up new perspectives for living together. How did Rebecca Horn, in contrast to early forms of feminism, advocate for new ways of thinking about equality through sensitive, the sensory, the haptic, and movement? Her energetic explorations of permeability of bodily boundaries as a unifying factor, the body in its constant fluidity in its experience of the other and otherness. Early on, she found a language for humans are subject to control of suffer pain, experience pleasure, and sense fear. Rebecca Horn's art creates unfamiliar perceptions that go hand in hand with extreme experience of the senses. So here we see installation shots, exhibition views of the main room and the Tate Works room. We can therefore not pay enough attention to Rebecca Horn's early work and extensions of the body. Here we see the videos of performances 1 and 2 and Berlin exercises projected in large format for the very first time with this activated object, the body extensions, celebrating the power of transformation. Living out different identities and actions, the double life of humans and animals, actions with masks, bandages, and feathers that defy taboos and categorizations. How did Rebecca Horn create new systems of seeing, hearing, and touching? How and which visionary logics of inside and outside did she develop and transfer into new experiential spaces? With Rebecca Horn, movement becomes experience. We want to understand her practice of decoding body language. How did she overcome the dominance of the gaze through choreography and the processional? Rebecca Horn can certainly be considered a key figure in the history of art and culture for the mobilization of contemplation. We'd like to contribute to this today. Her work is characterized by great openness that allows everyone to feel their own perception, and yet one finds oneself in a complex intellectual web of literary, cinematic, and artistic references. Rebecca Horn developed choreographies from disparate elements, always taking into account the audience perception, which can be hypnotic, spiritual, or psychotic. Here we see a remarkable drawing that has so far received little attention. We see one of 40 dancers in the moment of dancing coming together this spring. The drawing is intended not only to represent the language of structure of dance as catalyst for Horn's artistic thinking, but also to refer to the choreographic aspects of her work. The title, Heine and the 40 Brides, reveals that it is a tribute to her friend Heiner Müller, a famous German theater director of the 1980s in Berlin. In a conversation with Alexander Kluge, Heiner Müller once said, "You can only see reality if you break it down into parts, into segments. If each spectator is moved to put the parts back together again, it becomes their own reality, even in connection with dream reality. That would be a theater of the future." Rebecca Horn's diverse stages of perceptual relationships in her work began with dialogical coexistence of performer and audience. From the 1990s onwards, she increasingly focused on the stimuli of instinctively reacting body, often conceived in expansive installations in dialogue with surrounding architecture. Rebecca Horn used dramaturgy as a bridge between the artist and the viewer, reflecting on the relationship to the environment, to nature, and early on in terms of collapsing ecosystems, apparatuses of seeing, measuring, categorizing, as well as the dynamics of power relations. One celebrates the horror of machines as extension of the body. Drawing on monsters from poetry, science, she creates existence of the unrepresentable. As she always committed to dignify culture of remembrance, Rebecca Horn's oeuvre is a lifelong, vibrant echo of progressive decentering of human being. She explored the interaction of the senses through performativity, the body situated in relation to its environment. So now I would like to introduce you to the program of today. The program is dedicated to the interrelated themes of embodiment, technology, dance, choreography from current post-human, performative, and art historical perspectives. There will be three panel discussions. The first will focus on interconnectedness of images of body and movement, how different media interact with each other, and how Rebecca Horn's energy, soul, and body come together as an artistic plexus. The participants in the first panel, entitled Performativity of the Body, Power of Transformation, are Henrik Volkerts, Lanka Tattersall, and Andre Lepecki. I would like to thank Henrik for moderating the panel, as well for his moving contribution to the catalog. Thank you. The second panel discussion is dedicated to the following questions. How do the works of Rebecca Horn make visible permeability of physical boundaries? And how do they point to threat to individual bodies? How are her experiments with prostheses, skin dresses, and apparatuses to be read and understood in the age of biotechnology? The panel discussion is entitled Hybrid Beings on Cyborgs and Concepts of the Body. The panelists are Jack Halberstam, Sarah Siegmund, Amanda Katja, and Charlotte Matte. Jack will be moderating, and I would like to thank him very much for that, as well as for his contribution to the catalog, which is very important to us. The third panel is devoted to the way Rebecca Horn addressed the viewer and how she took perception into account. How does the hypnotic, spiritual, and psychological character arise? The panel discussion is entitled Choreographies of Perception, Cosmic Networks. The participants are Goyo Montero, Marta Jiwanska, Jessica Ikoman, and myself as moderator. There will be a final discussion moderated by Andrea Lissoni, followed by a special performance by Jessica Icomano, which I'm sure we will enjoy after the long day. So I'm already looking forward then to the screening of Rebecca Horn's wonderful newly digitized film Buster's Bedroom. By an introductory talk with Doris von Draten and Sandra Reimann. I hope you enjoy the day and wish you enlightening insights. I will now hand over to Andrea Lissoni, who will talk to Nick Sirota. Thank you so much.